Welcome to the FlexPath DXP YouTube channel. My name is Jay. I'm a media professional. I'm here with Tarry Shebesta, CEO of FlexPath DXP. Tarry, how you doing?
Perfect, Jay. How are you?
Well, I'm doing good. Terry, will you tell me more about FlexPath DXP?
Sure, absolutely. So FlexPath DXP is a fintech platform for the automotive, powersports, and RV industries with its flagship product, patent pending identity verification with credit prequalification using just a phone number.
So, I understand you have a pretty deep background in fintech. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so it's varied for sure, but I'm a dealer, I'm a lender, and I'm a fintech innovator. I'm also president of the National Vehicle Leasing Association, a member of the FBI InfraGard, an FBI Citizens Academy alumni, and also on the board of the CCPA.
Oh, that's a lot. You released a PSA about what fraud, identity, credit protection. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, we found that the legacy pre-qualification apps on most dealer websites that are collecting name and address, phone number, email, are susceptible to these automated fraud attempts. And we've uncovered this just recently and found that these legacy pre-qualification web apps are allowing these bots actually submit their information to figure out if that customer can actually pre-qualify. And once they find that they're pre-qualified, they can use that name and address and phone number for potential fraud in other applications that consumer would be unaware of. So it's constant monitoring, developing your fraud prevention, and we call it a fraud stack. Your fraud stack is many pieces, layers like Swiss cheese that you put in place to prevent these types of attacks.
You were recently quoted in Auto Finance News, and you talk about VeriQual. Will you tell me more about that?
Sure. Yeah. And Auto Finance News picking up this PSA is very important. But VeriQual, when we created VeriQual, we knew up front, when this has been in development for a while, identity verification, right? So we had to be able to verify someone's identity before we actually do the credit prequalification. So going back to the legacy tools, it was always about just getting that prequalification, pulling credit, soft pull, right? But adding the identity verification to that stops what we were just talking about with the PSA, with these legacy systems, letting that information go through, pulling the credit, and then providing that prequalification to the fraudster so that they can actually go out and use that information. VeriQual stops it right at the very beginning. It's patent pending, so doing identity verification with credit together with just a phone number. So the other advantage to that is the less friction, right? So now, again, with legacy apps, not only are there holes in there, but it's also, it takes a lot more effort for the customer to get through it. Real customers, not the frauds, right? Frauds can get right through it, but a real customer having to enter their name, address, phone number, email, all of that, just especially with today's consumers, we're using just the phone number, which enables us to get that customer through faster. And they appreciate the fact that they appreciate the fact that we are verifying who they are. And most people today are familiar with OTPs, one-time passcodes, and that. So it's a much smoother process to get them through.
Terry, you speak at a lot of events. Tell me more about that.
Yes, actually, with the topics that we're covering here today, it's more relevant than ever. Right now, I'm scheduled to speak at a number of different events. Used Car Week, NVLA, which is National Vehicle Leasing Association. Everybody wants to know what's going on with what's going on with the fraud situation in our industry right now. And there's a lot of information that I'm able to bring to the table through my my work with law enforcement and other associations and my personal experience as a dealer and a lender. So I'm able to cover all of those aspects and look at each of those areas and figure out, okay, well, how does the fraud get through? What can we do to protect it? And it's something that we're focused on every day. It's every day.
I think you've done a good job of also creating a visual of the problem. And you mentioned something about Swiss cheese. Will you tell me more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's well known in the security industry where you have different layers of protection, fraud protection, because one by itself is one slice of cheese and there's holes in a Swiss cheese, right? So the more layers of that cheese you have put in place, the better chance you have of protecting yourself against the fraud. We also call it a fraud stack. And the fraud stack is something that we're actually putting together a consortium of different companies to be a part of the fraud stack so that each layer, again, provides more protection. And really, that's the most important part. One, if a company comes to you and says, "Oh, we can do it all," maybe, but it's probably not possible for one company to provide all the different levels at the highest level of protection that you're going to need as we look at what's going on with the AI and those types of
So you're saying I want to have a fraud stack?
yeah, actually, a fraud stack is, again, it's something new that I think most of the people in our industry are like, fraud stack. I've heard of tech stack, very similar, right? You have tech stack, which are all these components of technology put together to run your operation or your product. The fraud stack, similar, right? It's different technologies that are put together, fraud prevention technologies put together to create your protection, fraud stack. We like to call it a click to keys version of a tech stack, but for fraud.
Okay, now I get it. Okay, you're right. I want a fraud stack, which is a multi-layered line of defense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What's the next level problem with the addition of AI?
Yeah, it's like AI is now creating AI. So the exponential development of AI it's from the time that we just started this talking back and forth. It's has grown exponentially. That's how fast it's going. So when we look at fraud stack or we look at fraud prevention, it's not a set and forget, because if it's a set and forget, you're going to open yourself up to other holes in the stack that weren't there when we started, but they're there now because of the high rate of technological advancement through AI.
Right. So if I'm a dealer and I'm busy, I mean, there's a million things going on at the dealership, but I have to always have my fraud stack working because it's a constant barrage of random fraud attacks.
Kind of like a dome, right? Protection dome, right? It's constant. And dealers, that's the thing with dealers. We're all busy. It's not like we're sitting around, with nothing to do. There is always something going on. I see now at dealerships risk officer, right? We see that especially in the bigger dealerships. And the risk officer's job is to make sure that the dealership is protected. Okay, and they're involved probably on a day-to-day basis of what's going on in as far as fraud goes, and maybe they have a fraud stack, right? That's something that we always want to talk to them about is, okay, well, what's involved in your fraud stack? We're not here to necessarily sell you something, but here to collaborate. Because as I mentioned, as we're working with law enforcement, and whether it's the CFPB or the FTC or the FBI, we want to get the dealers involved with those conversations so that it's not just these organizations making decisions on behalf of dealers. We want the dealers involved to help frame those decisions and help create what's needed at the dealership, because these other organizations are not always familiar. So you always got to have the dealer or the lender involved. And speaking about lenders, I think the lenders need to take a more of a role in the fraud prevention to help dealers. Again, we mentioned the dealers are busy. They know peripherally that there's issues out there that are constantly bombarding them, right, at the dealership with, and again with fraud. So lenders can play a more proactive role in helping dealers with their fraud stack or with their fraud prevention at different levels, because again, they have a different insight into what is going, especially when we're talking, and this is primarily about financing, leasing, and that's where this is really happening. So we have to make sure that everybody that has something, everybody that's involved in this process of financing the flow, that they have a seat at the table to be able to provide input into fraud prevention.
So it sounds to me like, I mean, between what's going on with the exponential rate of AI, lenders, dealers, fraud, are you just seeing companies throughout your day and your week that probably need a consultation? Is that where we're at now?
For sure. If you just pray that it doesn't happen to you, that, or hope that it doesn't happen to you, that's not a strategy, right? And having outside people that you can talk to that really are knowledgeable, and we like collaborating, right? Because the more you're able to collaborate, the better you're going to be overall with whatever you're working on, whether it's fraud or anything else, right? Collaboration is good, and we think that being able to talk to dealers or lenders about this situation and what we're seeing, right? Again, I see a lot of stuff, and there's a lot going on out there. All the conferences I attend, other meetings I attend, other people I'm involved with, whether it's, law enforcement or whatever, I see a lot of stuff. And just being able to talk to lenders and dealers about that definitely gives them more insight into where they need to go.
Let's talk law enforcement for a second. You said FBI. You mean the FBI?
The FBI, yes.
So
So
you're working with the FBI?
so I'm on different levels, yes. Through two organizations. Again, the FBI Citizens Academy, which I'm an alumni of, and then also FBI InfraGard. Now, the InfraGard it's an FBI association that I do recommend people get involved. You get involved as an individual, not as a company. Okay, so become a member. It's about sharing these types of fraud things that we see, this PSA and other things that can happen in our industry. Definitely having the FBI involved. I was actually off a topic here. Years ago, I was involved in a situation where I was on the witness stand for like 5 hours working with the FBI to put away a fraudulent um, dealer. At this point, it was a dealer that was defrauding other lenders. And I was able to work with the FBI to put together the case, and we got a guilty plea, right?
Conviction?
Conviction, yeah,
A conviction.
yeah. So we were able to work with the FBI to get a conviction on this bad actor that was doing fraudulent titles. So again, it's I've been doing this for years, working with the FBI, working with other law enforcement, to figure out what's the best way and to work together to put away or to prevent these types of bad actors. And that's what InfraGard is all about. It's
Right.
companies working together with the FBI to thwart bad actors.
Infragard. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Clearly there's a lot to talk about, and this is really important information. And again, if you're a business and if you don't have a fraud stack and you're doing big business, you need to talk to somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
for sure.
and to do that, all right, so you've got your email, Tarry at flexpathdxp.com,
Mm-hmm.
your website,
Mm-hmm.
flexpathdxp.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can be reached by phone, 513-200-5757.
Mm-hmm.
We're on the FlexPath DXP YouTube channel, so you can comment below, like, share, subscribe. learn more about FlexPath DXP, VeriQual, fraud prevention, and where to find your next speaking engagement. So contact Tarry and learn more how to protect yourself with VeriQual against fraud protection. Thanks for joining us here on the FlexPath DXP YouTube channel.